Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. I am Olakunle Kasumo. Let me start by saying a big thank you to all of you who keep watching this show and those who always join us on our social media handles. Just in case you have not been doing that and you would like to, our social media details are displayed on your screen. We use the platforms to share new book titles, book events, quotes, quizzes, news, author profiles, and many other interesting stuff. We look forward to having you join us on those platforms. I'll be introducing our guest author for today very soon, but first, let's get started with a common question I get whenever I ask prospective writers if they want to write a biography or an autobiography. That question is, what is the difference between a biography and an autobiography? Easy question for those who know it, but let's help out those who might be unsure. We have looked at this before on this show, but just to re-emphasize, a biography is a detailed account of a person's life written or produced by another person. It gives elaborate information regarding that subject and presents his or her intimate details about life. The writer of a biography is called a biographer. On the other hand, an autobiography is the life sketch of a person written by that person himself or herself. The word auto means self. Therefore, an autobiography contains all the elements of a biography, but composed or narrated by the author himself or herself. The writer of an autobiography is called an autobiographer. Well, the book we are focusing on primarily today is not exactly a biography in the classic sense of how biographies are written and structured, but it is very biographical in nature in many ways. It's titled Abba Kyari, Portrait of a Loyalist. The book explores the life and times of the former chief of staff to President Muhammadu Buhari from the perspectives of different contributors who shared their thoughts on the man after he passed away in April 2020 due to COVID-19. May his soul rest in peace. The book is basically a compilation of different thoughts about Kyari, ranging from the good to the bad to the ugly. It's quite a balanced one. Its author is Magnus Onyibe, who is an entrepreneur, public policy analyst, and development strategist. Magnus, who was a broadcaster and two-time commissioner in Delta State government, is a communicator and the author of Beyond Loss and Grief. He joined us to discuss his writing and Abba Kyari. Enjoy this. Magnus, thank you for joining us on Channel's Book Club.
Thank you for inviting me.
Although our primary focus will be on Abba Kyari, Portraits of a Loyalist, but I was fascinated by when I saw your other book, Beyond Loss and Grief. This is a story of your daughter that passed on.
Yes.
Wow. That must have been very painful.
Yeah, it was a terrible experience.
And that inspired this, right?
Yes, that inspired the book on Abba Kyari. Actually, I was just rounding off writing the book about the loss of my daughter, because after my daughter passed away, my daughter was 18 years old in 2017. She was schooling in University of Birmingham. She was studying law, and she had a stomach ache, reported to the school authorities. They asked her to see the doctor. There's a hospital next door to the school called Bombrook. It's over 300 years old hospital, and she was attended to, but they probably didn't take her seriously. They gave her Buscopan and all that. She went to Queen Elizabeth Hospital, which was also in Birmingham there, and they misdiagnosed the whole thing. At first, they said she was not, it was a gastronomic thing, and here and there, back and forth and whatever, until she was invited home, and she came home, and we took her straight to our doctor, family doctor, who sent her to a lab to do CT scan. And they came back that evening, and they discovered that she had ruptured appendix. Not only just that she had appendix, the appendix had ruptured, because for over 3 months they were playing with her. And so I wanted to send her back to England immediately, but the doctors advised that since it was ruptured, that it could pass away in the aircraft, and that it wasn't such a complex thing. So we took her to Gold Cross Hospital, then Gold Cross Hospital on Bodlon Road, Ikoyi, now Lagoon Hospital, and she went through the surgery. And a few hours after, she passed away owing to complications from the surgery. In fact, the hospital did not have a ventilator, which could have, saved her life, kept her breathing until she healed. Because ruptured appendix means that some content, the toxic content in your stomach gets into the rest of the stomach from the appendix. So it will damage the organs and whatever. So they needed to give her antibiotics for the septic to take care of the septic and whatever before she can now whatever. But they just did the surgery. She lost a lot of blood from what we understood, and they didn't have a ventilator to sustain her breathing. And she passed away. So we're really the pain, we're in agony, and the psychologist advised that the best way to heal is to help other people who may be in similar situations and whatever. So I embarked on writing the book because when I went to her school to pick up her stuff from her hostel, I saw her diary. She had a daily diary where she was writing everything, and she was writing series of letters, as I could term them, to God. It was called, she was saying, "Dear God, I want to be in that secret place with Jesus," and stuff like that and whatever. So because I was already in the writing mood, when I picked up a diary and read through it, I said, "Whoa, these are letters to God." So I said, "Okay, fine." I was already in the writing mood. I said I was going to write a book in her memory titled "Letters to God." But it was in the course of writing the book that I changed the title to Beyond Loss and Grief, because that's what it's about.
Wow. That's so moving. I think we need to maybe dedicate some time to this on some other episodes later on.
Sure.
Nice to bring you back.
Thank you.
But Abba Kyari's death came up while you were writing this. So you deviated a little bit because that was a bit more...
Yes, I had finished writing this actually. And it had been sent...
Which had you finished?
I had finished writing Beyond Loss and Grief.
Okay.
And it had been sent to India by my publisher, where it was printed.
To print, okay.
Yes, so we were waiting for it to arrive when the COVID thing hit. And we're still waiting. The book got stranded over there because of the ban on travel and stuff like that and whatever. And the event about the sudden departure of the late Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, started unfolding. And since I was already in the writing mood and we were all at home, locked down, about a week after, and I just saw that things were happening, and a lot of things were going on, and tributes were coming in from all quarters and stuff like that. And I said, look, I'm witnessing history. Apart from a few presidents and head of states that had passed on in Aso Rock, Malam Abba Kyari, the chief of staff to the President Buhari, was the next highest person in the echelon of government that would pass away under this kind of circumstance. So I said, maybe I should record it as it was happening, and I did so.
It was interesting seeing your statistic in the book that in 60 years of Nigeria's history, there have been 5 leaders of government who have died. Yeah, it was interesting for me to observe that. When I read that, I then looked at the US. US, which is 231 years old, has lost 8. 4 assassinated, 4 died due to illnesses. So, I mean, the comparison was...
Yes, and the US had 45 presidents.
45 presidents.
45. Yes. Trump is the 45th.
So it was interesting looking at that. So he is the first chief of staff that we lost in office. Well, okay, now, before we dig in, there is this issue of, this cultural issue of how to or how not to speak about the dead. When he passed on, and I was reading all the tributes on the one hand and criticisms on the other hand and all that, that kept playing in my head. And in most of the narratives, that kept coming up. What do you make of that, and how did it influence your writing of this book?
That's what part of what jarred me, actually. That, we Africans don't speak ill of the dead. But in this case, they were speaking ill of him, even if there were a lot of eulogies on him. But there are people who were ready to come out and really be nasty. As I said in inside the book, that people were ready to dance on his grave even before the place was cold, whatever, So it was a very unique thing. But Abba Kyari is a unique person. He wasn't, a regular person. He was not seeking, people say he was not seeking attention for himself, but he was shielding his principal, his boss, with everything that he could. So he was a completely unique person, different person, because he did not act in the way that ordinary people would act. It was against the run of play, whatever, as it were, because it was not, people, alleged that he was corrupt or that he made money, in not too proper ways. But I don't think that was his motivation. Wealth was not his motivation. He was a Spartan man. His lifestyle was very simple. It was not ostentatious. So he's a unique person, or he was a unique person. So it was not unexpected that a unique thing like people, being nasty when he was dead would happen.
So your personal take on that cultural issue is don't speak ill of the dead.
It's an African thing. We respect the dead. We celebrate the dead.
Okay. Okay. But did you set out to celebrate the dead here? It didn't read like you set out to celebrate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So in the light of that, I would like you to explain what this book,
yes,
is about.
This book is a public administration book, like public instruction. It's like something that should be instructive to people in public service. Abba Kyari is like a metaphor for what happens in Nigerian public sector. It's kind of a governance thing. People are in government today, they are out of government tomorrow. And when they are out of government, a lot of them fall out of favor or fall out of grace, or a lot of them are disgraced. But there are some people who have been in government who still enjoy a lot of goodwill from people. So it was a kind of compendium put together for people, civil servants, public servants, to know that there's day after work.
After office.
After office, after service, that people would judge them. And I'll give you a simple analogy. Somebody in analyzing this book, an issue was raised, and it was, illustrated as such that Alfred Nobel, who instituted the Nobel Prize, also invented the dynamite.
Dynamite, yeah.
Okay, and dynamite was a very
weapon of destruction.
Weapon of heavy destruction. It was a negative thing, and he was fine. He made a lot of money from it and everything. But at a point, his brother died, and they mistook his brother for him, and they wrote an epitaph, or they wrote about it and whatever, in very mean, wicked, negative ways and whatever. And it was opportunity for him to see what could have happened to him. And he said, "Oh my God! Remembered. So if I had died, if I was the one that died, this is how they would have remembered me." So he said, "No, that cannot be." So he set up the Nobel Peace Prize, which was opposite of how they had perceived him. And today he's known for the Nobel Prize for Peace instead of the dynamite, which was a weapon of mass destruction that he created. So people should know that that they should be careful what they do when they are in public service, because there'll be a day of reckoning. So if they don't do that, then the danger is lurking there.
Okay. Your book is divided into the good, the bad, and the ugly. Why did you do that?
Because, as I said, I was leaving the judgment to people.
To the reader.
To the readers, to make. What I saw was that, as I said, everything started tickling in after he passed away, after Malam Abba Kyari passed away. And the eulogies started coming in by people who loved him. His daughter wrote a very beautiful one. The president wrote a fantastic one. The Archbishop of Canterbury, wrote, the representative of American government, Edgar wrote, whatever, and stuff like that, and family and friends, Alhaji Mama Daura wrote, and all that. Then the vice president wrote, the president's wife wrote, and we know the kind of frosty relationship he had with such people. Then the really nasty ones came out. People who he really maybe offended, that were not ready to be African. And they were all out, with no hindrance at all, and whatever. So I saw that there were different assessments by different segments of the public. And I said, look, I'm an editor. I'm a gatekeeper. I have to put all this together for people to judge. So I put the good ones, I put the not so good ones, and I put the bad ones. Actually, the bad wasn't actually really bad. It was just
Not
a
that.
play of word.
Yeah.
Yes, a play of word. It wasn't really that bad, but it wasn't as good as good. Anyway, whatever. And the ugly was downright ugly.
This is a biographical work. My problem with biographies, and probably the problem of a lot of people who are critics of biographies and autobiographies, is they are very they could be self-eulogizing.
Absolutely.
Or the biographer could be, just pointing out the good in that particular subject. But why I liked your book was the way you combined things that different people said about Abba Kyari. The very excellent ones, and then the very ugly ones at the end of the book. So I like that balance.
Thank you.
So I enjoyed reading that. Now, but it was also interesting for me to gain insights into the type of man he was. Let me tell you, my favorite write-up here that you put in here was that of his daughter. I absolutely loved it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because one could argue that, of course, the daughter will be biased, she loved her dad and all that. But I think nobody describes a man better than a child. And when I read what she wrote about her dad, I was really moved. How did you find that, and which was your favorite?
In fact, as you said, if you notice what I said earlier, she was the first person I mentioned that wrote a beautiful piece about her father before I mentioned the president, even if the president's tribute came first because of protocol. She was very, very, very apt about her father. The description of her father that she gave revealed a lot about the man. People who saw the man as a stern man, who saw the man as a nasty man, who saw the man as a villain, saw the other side of him. A lot of people complained. This has been on the blog, whatever, and stuff like that. And this issue that you raised has been raised. And somebody said, "Oh yes, what were you expecting her to say about her dad?" What if she didn't have something good to say about her dad?
She probably would have been quiet.
She wouldn't have said all those things. She didn't manufacture them. Those things were not made up. They are things that actually happened because it could be corroborated. Because I've heard other people speak about those things already. I know of somebody who had said that the man couldn't drive. That the man couldn't drive a car. I had heard that story before, long before he passed away. And, a lot of things about him being at home.
Him being at home.
Yes, what do you know?
Him visiting her school.
Yeah.
Every time they had a parent-teachers association.
Yeah.
Flying all over to attend, those meetings. Taking notes during the PTA meetings.
Yes.
And sharing the notes with her. Absolutely loved.
He's a meticulous person.
Because beyond the public life, it comes down to how the people who are closest to us see us. The way your husband or your wife sees you and the way your child sees you.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely important.
It was outstanding.
Of course, there was also that part of the president who described him as a very dear friend. What kind of insights did you gain in writing that?
Yeah, it showed me the kind of signs that we had gotten from the past, that the president likes to work with people whom he knows very well. And he had alluded to it in one or two interviews in the past, that people are blaming him for not appointing this, not appointing that he doesn't know them. So it looks like he really loves to work with people that he knows very well. This man he had known for like 43 years. And the truth is that this man had been with him through thick and thin, really. Okay. When Malam Abba Kyari was the managing director of UBA Bank in Lagos, he was staying in his house. He was staying in Mr. President's personal house.
President Buhari's house?
Yes. And President Buhari, was not president at that time. Abba Kyari had the option of staying in a big mansion belonging to the bank where he could stay, but he was staying in a flat. Mr. President was speaking from the heart. So he likes to work with people who he knows very well, incidentally, and that's an evidence.
You admitted there was a cabal and that he was a key member of the cabal. I saw that in your book, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, then you also wrote here that he was effectively running the government, basically. So this has been rumored all around. This is part of the rumors. And part of the reasons why many members of the public did not really like him.
Yes.
Because as long as you saw the government as poor, performing poorly, and you saw Abba Kyari as the person, the de facto head of government, then you wouldn't like him. So what's that angle about? I mean, you admitted that he was running the government.
I only affirmed what people were saying about him running the government. And I also did a trend analysis
Of President Buhari's history.
Yes, exactly. Which, his style indicated that he likes to pass on responsibility and authority to his trusted subordinates. Okay? Now, you're also right that people now attributed every bad thing that was coming out of the government to Abba Kyari, and also all the good things as well. But Malam Abba Kyari has passed away for some months now, about 3 months at least. And the president just came out with some deft moves. What he did to douse the fire in APC just last week is a masterstroke. What Abba Kyari has passed on? Is it that he shared that with him from the grave? So the president has been doing stuff. And people were actually probably misrepresenting or misdirecting their anger by, assuming that it was Abba Kyari that was doing all the vile things. That,
but I got the impression here that, Abba Kyari could well have taken responsibility for those things because he was running government. I mean, you shared the history of President Buhari during the time, his first tenure in the 80s. Tunde Diagbon was basically running government. And the coup only took place when Tunde Diagbon was away, out of the country. And then you traced it to PTF, that even in PTF, you gave apt illustrations of that. And all that. So, if that is the case, then people who are saying Abba Kyari should have taken responsibility for all the bad things happening in government, they had a point.
Exactly. But that's the thing about the president. The president is an enigma, an enigmatic person. Because people made those judgments based on what they could see.
So you disagree with the idea that Abba Kyari was running the government?
I'm saying, that he might have been, but it's a part of an entire team. He was not running it as solely as people were assuming.
Okay.
Yes,
so you believe they took it too far?
Yes.
The idea that Abba Kyari was running government because he was the arrowhead of the cabal.
Absolutely.
Okay. I understand that bit. Now, if we flip over now, you said something about, it read to me like a kind of criticism that it was as if you blamed Abba Kyari for not attending to how he was perceived. And while I was reading that, I was seeing the communicator in you, that Abba Kyari should have been a bit more proactive in the way he was perceived by the public. It read as if you didn't like the way he handled the way he was perceived by the public.
Absolutely. A lot of people felt that Abba Kyari should have been able to deflect some of the missiles being fired at him. He was the usual suspect. Everybody saw him as the usual suspect. He was actually ubiquitous. He was everywhere. The president was signing this, he was there. If he was going there, he was there. If he was doing that, he was there. As a matter of fact, most of all, he was in Germany supervising the Nigerian Siemens agreement on power project, which some people have concluded was usurpation of the power of the Minister of Energy, but the president sent him on that assignment, whatever, and he did go on that assignment. So he, as a communicator, because he worked in the media, should have been able to defray some of the negative vibes that were coming to him. But a lot of people who know him very well said they actually offered to, and he said he didn't mind. He was ready to protest his boss. That's why I said the portrait of a loyalist. He was absolutely loyal to his boss, and he didn't want anything to touch the boss. So he was creating a shield. It was like an ADC that could take a bullet for his boss.
Magnus, thank you very much for joining us on Channels Book Club. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Keep safe.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
A book and a conversation that reminds us that after we are all gone, there will be a legacy. I hope you enjoyed the show today. As always, we'll be delighted to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. I am Olakunle Kasumu. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.